Hi everyone, welcome to this Spotlight Chats. I'm here today with Professor Ben Boyd, just in immediate past president of CRS, just off the job from the annual meeting we had in Montreal just a couple of weeks ago. Thanks, Ben, for joining. In case there's anyone who doesn't know Ben, Ben's a professor at Monash University and currently also a joint appointment at the University of Copenhagen, Department of Pharmacy. And Ben, thank you for joining today and for taking the time. We both had kind of busy schedules to do it in person, especially you in Montreal, but it's really great to have you here.
It's good to have this as a bit of a roundup of things also. So
yeah, that was the main goal. So yeah, just to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your research in this joint appointment?
Yeah, sure. So I've been an academic for maybe 20 years, and slowly worked my way up to professor from base base level, and as it goes, without actually moving universities. So I was in about 2014, I think I was promoted to full professor, and so my group at Monash was at its largest was about 22 people or something crazy. But I've wound that way back, and part of the reason for that is that I a couple of years ago was awarded this Novo Nordisk Laureate Fellowship, or Novo Nordisk Foundation Laureate Fellowship. It doesn't have a direct relation to the company, so it's supported by the foundation, and that position's a 7-year research fellowship plus 5-year option afterwards, with a fairly generous support package that comes with it. So it was an opportunity that was kind of needed. I needed something. I got into a bit of a rut, as you do, and was able to do all the parts of my job pretty well, but wasn't sure what I needed to do to get the next sort of level of interest. So I thought, oh, well, why not just change universities, change countries, change languages, change cultures, and start a whole new group in a place that's almost exactly on the opposite side of the globe. So it's about as far as away as I could have got without establishing a group in the moon. So so it was quite a big change, and that's a 80% position in Copenhagen and 20% in Monash. So I still have a core group in Monash that are sort of slowly but surely decreasing in numbers, but I still love them the same as everyone here. So
yeah, we got to meet some of them in Montreal still, so that's nice.
It was a chance to bring both together actually, which was really, really cool. My only regret was I didn't have enough time to spend with the joint group, but they were all together in a single Airbnb, so that was
that's
a good
cool.
touch.
That's really nice, actually, and having them share those experiences of being the same group ultimately, but just physically as separated as they could be.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
all
great.
Part of the one family, even though they live in different houses. So.
Exactly. Very good. And in terms of your relationship with CRS, can you tell us a little bit about the first time you got involved with the society and how you started also volunteering for the society?
So I think my first CRS was in Vienna in about 2004, 2005. And at that stage, my sort of early research was dominated by lipid self-assembly, and still is to a large degree, but at that intersection of colloid science and pharmaceutical science. But at that stage, it was very much dominated by lipids and lipid self-assembly and using lipids in a drug delivery context. And so that sort of drew me to CRS as a natural organisation to be involved in. And I can't remember exactly who drew me there, but I suspect that because I'd been to an Australian conference, Australian Pharmaceutical Science Conference, which is actually where I met my colleague Thomas Radis, and I think he probably suggested that I come to Vienna because it'd be kind of cool and kind of fun, and the rest is sort of history. So I got drawn into the CRS family that way, and at that stage there was no Australian chapter of CRS. We hadn't established that at that stage. But yeah, I've been to I think all bar 2 meetings ever since that time. So it's very much become my home society, and the one event of the year that is almost unmovable in my calendar. So that's how it kind of happens.
Yeah, it does have that. I think CRS does have that with us. When you start going, I think it's really difficult to go away from it for all the good reasons. We just feel so at home with it. And I think it was one of the things we heard a lot. I heard a lot at the conference this year for both recurrent attendees, but also first time attendees, that they felt this kind of home feeling, which is great. And it's one of the reasons I got involved and I am involved. So I think it's always good to see it in other people as well.
I think with everything that's happened the last few years, that people have forgotten just how important that face-to-face friendship, both scientifically but also socially, is really super important. And all of all the not rubbish parts, but all of the less fun parts of our job have been magnified the last few years, and the truly fun parts have been diminished. And being able to get back together again has helped to even things up a little bit as well. So
Definitely.
it was a great experience to see everyone again.
Definitely, 100%. And in terms of this, and always also picking up a little bit on that, your presidency in this transition year back to face-to-face meetings, how did you experience this year of presidency, and what were the main challenges, but also the things you're most proud of in this year?
Yeah, it's so at our board meeting we put together, I put together a slide of things that I thought we'd achieved during the year, and I ran out of space on the slide, so that was a good
Great.
sign. So the experience, so it was, I mean, obviously it was very difficult in the sense that because it was that sort of transition year, I was particularly conscious of it being a bit of a tipping point for CRS, where we could have gone either way. We had a couple of years of not being able to be together and having to be particularly conservative with our approach to everything so that we could survive. And a lot of scientific societies have not survived, or are in such dire straits that they're unlikely to be in a healthy position for quite some time. So there was a need to kind of keep an eye on the sustainability of the society, but also try to help the community to see a future and look forward, and try to I don't want to say take a chance, because we did take a chance. We had to make a decision back in October. It was a pretty bold call by the board to back. I was being pretty forthright in my opinion that we really should throw our efforts behind a fully in-person meeting with no virtual content, and not do a hybrid meeting. And although I've coming from Australia, I'm the first one to recognise the geographical constraints of getting to meetings and the expense involved, but we didn't have the energy or really the resource to do a hybrid meeting, because it's extremely expensive and it splits people in half really, and it also provides an opportunity for employers and universities to say no when they otherwise would probably say yes. So the way things were trending at the time, it made sense that we'd pull out of. We could make a big contribution to pulling out of that kind of paradigm of virtual and get back into it in person.
Yeah,
so
no,
that was great.
definitely was a difficult decision.
But we kind of hedged our bets, so we put a fair bit of energy and time into these new symposia that we've started. That only started with the first one in November last year, and it's already a bit of a feature. So we've had a lot of success in getting those going, and Simon Matouli's hosting the next one in September. it's entirely online, so they're accessible to everybody. They're targeted more towards industry than academia, but yeah, really great speakers and great topics there. And you know, we've made a lot of strides on the equity, diversity, inclusiveness front. We still have a long way to go, and you know, having in-person meeting kind of magnifies the differences between people, and you know, so it also sort of, you know, is a bit of a wake-up call with it, but you know, we're it's an evolving thing, and it's going to need to always, there's no end to your efforts in EDI. It has to be a continual, ongoing improvement, and I think we've got that mindset at least now embedded in what we do within CRS. I can pull up the list. I should have done that beforehand.
You're okay.
Because now it's embarrassing. I can't remember, but there was lots and lots of things. You know, the way we handle a lot of our processes. So, for example, the College of Fellows nominations in the past was kind of biasing it towards a certain demographic of people going in as fellows, and we've completely changed that process now so that it's a very balanced and inclusive process. And so Sasha Kabanoff led the revitalisation of that, and I think that'll really hold the society in good light in the long term. But yeah, many things we've managed to achieve this year. It's been very busy, but also great fun. So
that's great, and I think it's also, as you said, it's a continuous effort and it's a stepwise process. So as you integrate more and more of the EDI principles in the working of the society, you'll get those perspectives embedded into the processes. So you get people who actually may be represented in minority groups, for example, bringing their vision in and adding to the value of the society. I saw that with the Young Scientist Committee, and I think it's bound to happen as we continue to promote this inclusivity in the systems of the society. I think it's key. Really good point.
Well, the other little, if I can just 2 seconds, the other key thing that's along those lines was the starting of the South Africa chapter, which is our first CRS foray that I know of at all into Africa.
Yeah.
So Admai Dube has you know, helped us to get that off the ground, and as the sort of inaugural president, and also the Korea chapter has also kicked off. So two great initiatives, parts of the world that really need to be represented in delivery science. So
definitely,
I think big achievement this year.
And finally, the society, I think, is now represented in all continents. I think we were
Antarctica.
Yeah, we were missing Africa, so we just need to continue growing on I think probably Africa and South America are the areas that need a bit more growth, but it's really great to see that growth and that expansion into areas where we weren't, or the society was not represented. But there were definitely great scientists and great science being carried out there. So it's about giving them a home as well, as we were talking in the beginning. And well, in your career and looking at your profile, something that's obviously striking, calls attention, is this hop between industry and academia, probably a couple of times. And I know that especially young scientists sometimes struggle with the idea of making that really definitive decision after your PhD of going one way or the other. So I think your perspective is really interesting for our members in terms of how you handle those transitions, what led to that, and what made you make those decisions at different time points in your career, I suppose. If you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So so the kind of chronology was roughly that I did a chemistry degree, and my sort of mini masters that we do in Australia that we call honours was in high pressure electrochemistry. So no pharma exposure at all in undergraduate or in early graduate. And then I went to work in an explosives company in emulsion formulation for mining applications, not for good, not for, well,
yeah,
kind of good, not for evil. And then, and I did, during that time, I did a PhD as well with a break that was in more self-assembly of surfactants in a consumer products context. So still no pharma. And then I went back to the explosives company for a couple of years, still no pharma. And then they closed down their R&D group, and I could have gone into a technical service type position, or in manufacturing, but I chose to just leave, and I went back to Melbourne, and without a job at that stage. But then literally the day I was getting off the plane, I had a phone call from this guy, Chris Porter at Monash University, who's now the director of the Monash Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, #1 in pharmacology on the global rankings, by the way. But anyway, plug for Chris and for Mick. Looking for a postdoc with a background in colloid science and no pharmaceutical experience specifically, to come in with a bit of a different perspective. And then I did postdoc for a year and a half, 2 years at Monash. And then I went into the pharmaceutical industry because I could see there was a lot of opportunities there. 3 years in pharmaceutical industry in formulation, and then I flipped back into an academic position. And so the upshot of all of that is that, you're off this world for a long time eventually. So don't be afraid to take a chance and jump around a little bit, because opportunities have a habit of working out. But also that it's worth trying both academia and industry if you have the opportunity, but never be locked into one or the other, because you need, at the end of the day, you kind of need to follow your instincts and follow your heart. And I always knew I wanted to do research, and what better way to do research than to be directing your own. So that's basically why I think I ended up in academia. So
yeah, no, that's a great point. And I remember at this year's Women in Science event, we talked about career breaks, and also applies to these changes. And someone commented, what is a year or two in a career long period? So if you want to do a career in industry or in academia, what is a couple of years in the other, to give it a try? And I mean, we're, as you said, we hopefully have long lives, so we should get that chance to experience different things. I think that's really key. And what would you say were your main learning points from those two environments? Let's say, what kind of things you brought from one to the other?
So I have this saying, and I may not offend people, but some people might disagree with this. But overall, I think from my time in industry, I learned that you spend most of your time trying to make your boss look good. And then my learning from academia is you spend most of your time trying to make yourself look good, and your students. But it all goes together. So you want to make your group look good, and so there's a fundamental difference there. And some people prefer one over the other, and vice versa. So I'm not saying one necessarily better than the other. It's really where your sort of instincts tell you that you lie. I mean, what I do know is it's a fine line. I could easily jump back into an industry tomorrow, but not yet.
No, and I think
I just jettisoned a job, so I could take another one.
And I think it brings a really interesting perspective at the end of the day. How the industry works, what's the mentality, what's the drive behind the research and the projects. And I'm sure it has helped you establish collaborations with industry, for example.
Definitely. So so we have, I mean, most countries have some sort of a joint industry academia grant system, and I've taken full value really from the one in Australia, because I've had that ability to have the right kind of discussions with people in industry to work out what the real problems are, and to discuss how we might be able to make an impact on them. I think a lot of academics approach industry as either a bit of a cash cow and think that they can, not really need to have that sort of that discussion that is a collaborative discussion. It's not that different to discussing an early collaboration with another academic group, or they kind of take a bit of a high, moral high ground sort of approach. But it's not like that. You need to just build a relationship like any relationship, and yeah, it's meant to be. It's meant to be. So yeah.
And I think in our field it's the same thing that we hear about clinicians. At the end of the day, if we're working for disease treatment, then talking to clinicians is key to understand where the gaps are and what is really needed. And also on the other end, if we're working on a technology or a material or something like that, then obviously speaking with the industry, I think it saves a lot of time and resources because you'll be doing research on something that may not interest or may not be viable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really cool. And what about the hop between continents? What have you found most different? Most I'm not going to ask the bad question. So what do you think is best about Denmark
Best.
and best about Australia? What's your favorite thing about Australia and your favorite thing about Denmark?
Well, yeah, it's a big move leaving sort of family and
Course.
non-academic friends in from Australia. So that's still that's why I kept the 20% security blanket, because I can kind of go back at a moment's notice if I really have to and still kind of have a job.
Sure.
But the best thing about coming to Europe has definitely been the connectivity. Like I can go, days notice I can go and go to a meeting in Rotterdam, and then the next day I'm in a meeting in Germany somewhere, and the next day in a meeting in Portugal, and then on the weekend go to Italy to go hiking or something like that. So the connectivity is really the really attractive thing, and Copenhagen's really nice city to live in, and it's very user friendly in the sense of getting around and getting, and the airport's easy and all that sort of stuff. There's certainly challenges coming to a different country with learning systems and cultures and other things. So that's always an ongoing process. But I've started to try to learn a little bit of Danish. It's not
Oh, good.
not the easiest language to master, but yeah.
Probably not, but but I think it's a sign of when we want to integrate into a new culture. I always felt like that. Just makes you feel a little bit more integrated if you can get started with the language a little bit. That's great. And so my last question is, now that you've wrapped up your year as president and passed the gavel on to Christine, what is your message to the CRS members at also the wrap up of this chat? What do you want to leave as a message for the members?
Well, Sarah, so my 20 odd years of experience in CRS has been, I would like to think, probably more give than take. But the rewards that come from that are across the board. The friends you make that end up being friends for life, and those of you that saw Sarah's LinkedIn message today to Chelsea was really a great one to highlight that you do meet people that are your friends for, can be friends forever. So you're not only gaining science and gaining industry contacts, you're also gaining lots of friends, and by achieving things together, instead of just going to the meeting and then going home, but actually working with other members to achieve things for other members is, I think, where you get the most reward out of those things. And so I'd really encourage people to get involved in volunteering with CRS, put your hand up to serve on the committee, contact the leadership, contact me, and if all else fails, on the website there's actually a link that you can go into where you can volunteer, so you can give your details and the sorts of things you're interested in, and someone will get back to you. So that's the kind of CRS corporate message, if you like. But the actual message is, just make it fun, because that's what we're here for, and CRS is a great forum for that. So have fun, respect each other, be good to your friends and be good to your colleagues, and you get a lot out of CRS. So
100%.
Thanks for your time, Sarah. Appreciate it.
I can vouch for that because it's true that I think the friendships are the ones you take home forever, and at the end of the day is that feeling of going to an annual meeting more to meet your friends than anything else, which is great. And thank you so much, Ben. Thank you for your time today, and thanks for sharing your thoughts. Congratulations again on a brilliant year and a brilliant annual meeting. And I'll, if not before, now that we're a bit closer in Europe, I'll see you in Vegas probably, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
And thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Catch you later.